Hi guys, we are with Andrew today. We're going to be chatting about social media and building a business, and I'm super excited to have you on because I feel like you're young, you're on the track that a lot of people want to get on with building your personal brand and like getting into the social media space. You've been there for a while, like building a YouTube channel.
Right.
And so I'm excited to hear kind of your perspective on like where that's going, what you want to personally do, and like what you see really being the future of social media.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course.
So I guess a little about my background first. I always knew I wanted to do some sort of entertainment YouTube, whether it be music, making people laugh, going into history, something like that. So
Mhm.
I've kind of incorporated all three of those so far. The one that's been the most successful has been the history. I have a YouTube channel that I go around the country. I film abandoned places with historical significance, and I kind of narrate what happened at that place, why it's historically significant, and kind of like it gives it a little bit of like a creepy kind of like vibe too, knowing
Mhm.
that, you know, there's some unknown in that building, right? So
There's a
there's
story.
historical significance there. It's still building. It's kind of creepy that it's just like, you don't know what's in the building, but it's just silent now after
Mhm.
all of those years of like bustling or whatever happened in that building. It's kind of gone now. So I find it very it's intriguing
How do you
to
get into
go.
those buildings? Like, do you just sneak in, or do you have to get like permission?
So sometimes I get permission.
Okay.
Sometimes I have to call a landowner. Sometimes I have to do a little digging. I have to
Mhm.
look for tax documents, call the county, see who it is, because I'm not breaking it. I'm not going
Right.
to break a window. I'm
Right.
not going to
And then put
pry.
it on social
Right,
media.
right. I'm not going to do that. I'm
Yeah.
not going to pry like plywood off the wall or anything like that. But a lot of times there's just a point of entry that's open, right?
Okay.
So there'll be like a window where someone else already conveniently ripped
Mhm.
off a plywood board, um, or the whole place is just wide open a
Mhm.
lot of times too. And then there's a lot of information about a lot of places on the internet these days. Um, so I just kind of compile all that and do my best to kind of give a good synopsis to my audience
Mhm.
about the significance of that place and kind
Yeah.
of what it was at one time. And the one thing I love doing is I love doing before and after shots, right? So I'll find historical pictures of the place, right? And I'll kind of go to the spot in the building or
Oh,
the
that's
place
cool.
where that picture was taken and
Mhm.
kind of show like the before and after. I like doing that in my thumbnails too. That's something
Mhm.
I got into recently. Um, but like we were talking about before the show, um, I haven't shied away from long form in a while. I've really embraced the short form, and it's mainly because one, I don't really have anybody to go to these places with, and when I
Mhm.
do, because I mean it's just like a safety thing.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not going into those places by myself.
Mhm.
So what I did was I had a good like 30, 40 videos that I had uploaded slowly over the past 3 or so years while I was in college.
Mhm.
I said, I may as well make these into some shorts that people would enjoy. Um, and that's what I did. I automated the process. I kind of took the highlights of all of those videos, uploaded them, and I scheduled them out to post every other day at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
So is that like the optimal time to post for short form?
I would go 9 a.m. if I had to do it again.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
From
Interesting.
from
Wait, can you not edit it now?
I
Or you
mean,
could?
I would have to go and do every single one in my planner,
Oh
which
yeah.
would be kind of a
Yeah.
pain. But it's really not a big deal.
Mhm.
I kind of figured that like, oh, that would be like a good time, and I had like my analytics show me that like most of my followers were on at that time,
Mhm.
but it was really 9 a.m. But it's really not that big of a
Yeah.
deal.
Yeah.
Um, Regardless, it's totally automated. I don't have to think about it, and I started this in October.
Mhm.
I've doubled my subscribers.
Wow.
My watch time is up over 50%. Click through rate on my long form videos is up 2.5%, I believe, since
Nice.
October.
Wait, you started the channel in
No,
October?
no,
Or you started
I
this
started the
process?
shorts.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
let me back up a little bit. So I started the channel over COVID,
Mhm.
right? I was in college. Always loved history. Always loved that sort of thing.
Mhm.
Kind of have like a creative, artistic side to me.
Mhm.
And I saw there was a demand for it on YouTube. Some of those like if you look up urban exploration on YouTube. It's one of the most popular topics out there.
Wow. Interesting.
A lot of people love it all
Yeah.
over the world.
Mm-hmm.
So I figured I'd start it. My friends and I were doing those kind of things anyways.
Mhm.
Right, you're at night. There's the creepy abandoned house around the corner, or the abandoned factory, which we all had where I'm
Mhm.
from in New Jersey. I'm like, hey, I might as well film it now.
Yeah.
So that's what I did, and the videos were good. Commentary wasn't there yet, but
Mhm.
like, in terms of just like shots and like videography, cinematography, that was all fine, but it wasn't really like I wasn't posting consistently enough
Mhm.
in college. I played college baseball. Being a college athlete is like 2.5 full-time jobs.
Yeah.
Like I was saying before, it's unbelievable. I knew I always wanted to pick it back up because those videos, it's not like they got no traction, right?
Mhm.
My first video got about 1,000 views
Wow.
in the first month.
For your first video on a
video,
channel,
which
that's
I
crazy.
didn't like, no sophisticated commentary, narration,
Mhm.
really no like historical significance of the place either. It's just kind of like, oh, here's an abandoned factory and we're walking through it.
Right.
So that went well. The next few did okay. And then I did a Route 66 road trip with my dad in October of 2020. So this is a couple of months. COVID was like March, so this is October. It's like 7 months later. We did a road trip on Route 66. Drove back from Phoenix, Arizona to Jersey here.
Jeez, that's far.
Yeah, but I love road trips. So
Yeah,
that's kind
yeah.
of like a
As
theme
long
of
as
the
you have
channel
stops
too.
on the way, it's
Yeah.
a lot of
Well,
fun.
we had plenty of stops
Yeah.
because I was like, Dad, there's an abandoned place. Dad, there's an abandoned place. Dad, there's an
That's
abandoned place.
awesome.
So, one of the places, right, and this was early in my like, I guess, YouTube personality career too.
Mhm.
I'm still improving, but then I was just like, yeah, here I am, guys. I was just
Mhm.
like driving along the highway here, but it turns out the one place was actually a filming location in Forrest Gump.
No way.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and I didn't find out until like 2 years later when I was like watching Forrest Gump again, and I
No
was like, "What?
way.
That's on my YouTube channel."
Which place was it?
So in the running scene where they're like running across America, where he
Yeah.
just starts running and everyone follows him. There's a scene like towards the end of that like
That like compilation.
section, yeah, where like he's in Arizona, he's running on Route 66. It doesn't tell you it's Route 66, but there's a little building. It's like a truck stop with gas pumps outside, and then there's like
Okay.
2 arrows like in the top
Yeah,
left.
yeah.
It's called Twin Arrows Trading Post.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and I had no idea how historically significant that was. And
Right.
if I did, I mean, the video probably would have done better.
Mhm.
But I mean, that video did really well,
Mhm.
right? So keep on moving east to New Mexico, and so we get there. It's 2 in the morning. We get like a crappy burger or whatever from McDonald's. Hit the hotel. We're up again at like 7 or 8, and we see an abandoned gas station.
Ooh,
And he's like,
okay.
and my dad said, he's like, "Oh, you want to go to that place?" I'm like, "Nah, screw it. I'm tired. Let's just go."
Mhm.
Right? He's like, "No, that place looks cool. Why don't you go do it?" Filmed it. The long TLDR, that video ended up getting over 200,000 views.
Wow. This is just like you walking through a gas station?
So it was very special because everything was left behind there.
Oh wow.
The place was like frozen in time. When you think of like a retro, like historical gas station from like the 1960s,
Mhm.
that was this place.
Mhm.
Like the pumps still had the price on as like 35 cents.
Oh my gosh.
So I was filming it and I was like, wow, like the price of gas on here is still 35
That's
cents.
crazy.
So I went around. I was able to walk right in because the door was pretty much, it was a door like that,
Mhm.
and it was just glass, and it was just totally shattered. I would just walk right in to the waiting area. Right, it had the old fashioned like couch.
Oh
It
my
had an old like,
gosh.
so how you used to take credit cards back in the day was, it was like you left an imprint, you didn't swipe it, you had to like, it was like this
Oh.
machine where like it made like a carbon copy essentially
Yeah.
of your credit card.
Wait, so when do you think this was like a functioning, like 90s or like earlier?
So I did find information. It closed down in the 90s.
Okay.
And
I didn't
has
even know they
not,
had like credit cards back then.
yeah, but that's how they took them.
Yeah.
It took an imprint of your credit card.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
So they had that there. I've never seen one of those before.
Mm-hmm.
It had like an old cigarette machine, right? Like 10 cents for a cigarette or something. Old road maps.
Wow.
So I went in the garage area, and they still had all the tools in place. There was a light still on. A light was still on. Yes.
So you think like somebody was like
There was
living there or something?
no,
like,
no,
how
no.
was the light?
Some places just still had power.
Wow.
It was crazy.
That's crazy.
There was a Dairy Queen menu from. It was like 25 cents a burger.
Did you take any of this stuff?
No.
No.
No. I mean, I was just on a road trip. I was in a little Jeep Cherokee.
That would have been so interesting though to have like a Dairy Queen menu from
menu.
like.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really a
30 years
believer in like stealing.
Yeah, that's valid.
From what I'm, because it's like I want other people to enjoy it too, and I don't want to like, I don't condone people vandalizing these places when they go there, right? Because I want to preserve the historical significance, and I want to preserve these places for as long as possible. And a place like that, like you're never gonna find that anywhere else, but
Intact
the middle of the desert in New Mexico.
Yeah.
Like it was literally, the video is called "Frozen in Time: Incredible Abandoned Gas Station in New Mexico." And right,
cool.
I had like the commentary sucked. Like I had no idea what I was saying. Like one take. Right off my head, don't know what. Oh, here's Route 66, and here's this gas station here. I was walking through it. I'm like, this place is special, right? There was like still like an engine hoist. They still had all like the stuff mechanics use.
Wow.
Like the air compressor, screwdrivers, tools, all like on the wall still.
I'm surprised that stuff wasn't stolen because those
exactly
those are like expensive tools.
It really says something about the people of New Mexico too. They also had oil cans. So oil used to come in like cans.
Okay.
Not like bottles like it does nowadays. So that I knew right there. I was like, that's really old. So I picked one up, and one was open, but it still had oil in it.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like, that's crazy. This still has oil in it. So I was like,
That's wild. Wow.
So long story short, go with your gut. Like when you see something to film, don't like always be open to filming something, because if it wasn't for that, my YouTube channel would not have kicked off. I probably would have just said screw this without that little initial boost, and I probably wouldn't have stopped, but I would have been more discouraged. It would have been like I wouldn't be where I'm at now, right? And it's not like I have 100,000 subscribers, because like I said, I slowly posted since 2020, being in college and everything. I went to school in Oklahoma, so I got some neat stuff out there. But in terms of like editing, we were talking about this before the show. Long process, not my favorite thing to do. Would love to outsource it someday.
Yeah.
I automate as much as possible. And to any creator, by the way, I would try to figure out how to automate your process and what you do. I think that's so important.
Have you ever like looked on Upwork?
Upwork and Fiverr.
Yeah. Do you ever get people to edit from like those websites?
Kind of pricey for what I'm doing right now, and it's not really necessary right now because I'm really embracing the short form with the content I already edited. But that's definitely something I'm looking forward to doing when I do eventually get back into long form, which is very soon.
Yeah,
literally within the next week or so.
Okay,
yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
I tried to. Well, actually, I'm still working with this guy. He's I think based out of Dubai, to like edit just for one of like my sub accounts on Instagram, just like trying to like test the waters, and it's such a difficult process trying to train somebody to edit like you,
right?
Especially when English
because
isn't
you
their
have a
first language.
style, and you have to convey that to whatever language they speak.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I've worked with people from like all over the world on Fiverr and Upwork, and even for unrelated stuff, and that can be a challenge too. But so up until like it was September, October-ish when I started to really automate this process of taking all of my long form videos, making them into shorts, and then posting them. I was like, I saw the opportunity there, but I didn't have the opportunity to get out and fly somewhere across the country to film a cool spot, to do another Route 66 road trip.
Right.
So I said, I can make these into shorts. I know that the platforms are really pushing that kind of content now. Let's see what happens.
Right.
Ran it through I ran them each through like an AI, like we were
Mhm.
talking about before. Made like 5 to 10 shorts per video. Edit them myself. Make sure all the captions were correct. And then I uploaded them to a website, a social media manager,
Mhm.
which I was able to do myself, totally for free, by the way.
That's awesome.
And from one spot, I was able to schedule them to Twitter, Facebook, YouTube short, Facebook Reels.
Mhm.
Twitter is video too, by the way. Facebook Reels, Instagram Reels, and YouTube Shorts. So
Okay.
I probably said two in the same one,
But
two of the same there. But
I'm curious because I've heard this talked about recently where a lot of creators are moving away from like the scheduled posts and like starting to post it like themselves because I guess the apps like they pick up on if you're
they
not
pick up on it's the
interacting.
same every day. But see, that's
Yeah.
the thing. If you're interacting, it doesn't matter.
Okay. So then you can still keep it scheduled as long as
Yeah.
you're on the app.
So, and for me too, it's a big thing to automate it as well. You don't know what you're doing. Like maybe you have a meeting at 11 a.m.
Yeah,
one day.
something comes up.
Something comes up. You don't have to worry about it.
Mhm.
What you do is you go back later when you can and engage.
Mhm.
Because there is always an optimal posting time. And if you're posting at that optimal posting time, right, your followers are going to appreciate it. The algorithm is going to reward you.
Yeah.
I've especially found on Facebook.
Okay, interesting.
I've actually had some of my shorts reach over 1 million views on Facebook.
Same. That's the only I've had one short get I think it was like 1.5 million and
Yep.
almost all of the views were Facebook.
Right.
Which I didn't even know that like my reels by posting on Instagram were also being seen
Yeah.
on Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah, that's right. So 11 a.m.
Mhm.
every other day through next like August or something.
And then
I
you'll
don't have to
like
worry about it. All I do is every other day I go on there, engage with people, and it started kind of slow, but I think within like my first 10 reels was my first one to hit 2.5 million.
Wow, that's awesome.
On Facebook.
Okay.
It did really well on YouTube as well. I think it got like 500,000.
Mhm.
In general, Facebook has been more successful for me short term,
Mhm.
short form wise, but it's all been successful
Yeah.
so far. Oh, and TikTok, I forgot too.
Okay.
TikTok, they automatically go there. TikTok's probably been my slowest.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. I feel like we're past like that curve where TikTok was just like everyone was blowing up.
Definitely, but
Yeah.
I think it's content too.
Mhm.
Because I mean, admittedly, right, this is my older content.
Mhm.
I was less experienced with both videography and narration.
Mhm.
So I have a feeling that when these newer long form videos start to come out and they get chopped down, I think they're going to do a lot better.
Yeah.
Especially on TikTok and Instagram.
Are you filming these like with your iPhone? Like what are you using?
I take stills with a Nikon D3500.
Okay.
And I film with a GoPro Hero 12.
Wow. Okay,
Yep.
cool.
So it's nothing crazy.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I'm trying to set aside a budget to buy a drone.
Oh, that would be
Trying
cool.
to set aside a budget to buy a more like cinematic camera,
Mhm.
like a Sony.
Mhm.
That's definitely in the future. But I mean, at the time when I first started, I only upgraded to a GoPro Hero 12 a couple of months ago.
Oh, really?
My first, all the videos I've had up until like my last one or two have been with a GoPro Hero 8.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm walking through that gas station, right, like with just a random GoPro, like saying whatever, like, yo, this place is cool.
Mhm.
And that ended up getting over 200,000 views. And
Yeah,
like thanks to my dad. Like if it wasn't for my dad telling me that,
Mhm.
I would have been like, no, screw it. Let's just keep going. Like
Right.
it's a gas station. Like who cares?
Yeah.
So that was really cool.
That's awesome. I feel like that's something that's become like super trendy in the last couple of years. It's just like raw footage. Like it doesn't have to be polished. Doesn't have to be like
Yep.
professional. It's just like people just want to see like the
Right.
real you or whatever
Right.
is going on. They don't want to see like this like super edited like fantastic film. It's just they just want something
And I've
real.
noticed that too. Like a lot of, I've compared myself to a lot of other channels, and I've noticed that the ones that are more raw tend to do better, right? So I'll find like similar channels, but they kind of make it look like a Netflix documentary where everything's like they put LUTs in, they color grade it. It's all like cinematic and everything, and there's this like haunting narration over it, or it's like very well produced, but it has like 50 views.
Yeah.
And it's
Oh,
like
that's gotta hurt
I
too.
feel bad for him, but I'm like at the same time, like, and I've always noticed that too, like, 2015, 2016, 2017 years like ago, I feel like a lot of content we consumed was very over edited.
Yeah.
There was a lot of like, oh, I don't even know, like emojis, like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
here, like clickbait this, clickbait that.
Yeah.
Like I think that was more like the clickbait era. I mean, now the algorithm doesn't really favor
Mm-hmm.
clickbaity type videos because
Mm-hmm.
people are clicking off, right?
Yeah.
So the algorithm really values audience retention.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Years ago, that wasn't the case. So I kind of like the fact that, like, you know, if people are watching your video, they're gonna it's gonna be promoted to other people, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so that's a really good thing.
Yeah, I
Really
feel
good thing.
like if like you look at the psychology of it too, like people are living vicariously through you. That's why they're watching your
Right,
videos. So
right.
they want to feel like they're there. And if it's this super edited, like animated thing,
It
it's
doesn't
like a
feel real.
production. Yeah.
It doesn't feel real, right?
Yeah.
And you know, that's not to say that no editing should go into it, no
Mm-hmm.
production, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just when it feels overproduced, it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
feel real.
Yeah. Yeah.
I find myself not really enjoying things like that either too.
Yeah.
Right? Like what one of the main influences of my channel was this dude on YouTube who goes around in like Georgia and just films like cemeteries with his GoPro.
Oh, really?
Dude's got over 100,000 subscribers.
Oh, that's
He's
creepy.
monetized, making
Yeah.
like over 10 grand a month just from that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, literally just from that. And he's
That's
like, he just goes,
insane.
"Hey guys, what's up? I got another like abandoned like
What does he do? Just like walk around looking at
slave
this?
cemetery here."
Oh,
And he's
sheesh.
like, "Here we go. Like, oh, there's a cemetery. Oh, this was a family cemetery."
Oh my
Like,
God.
he's strictly the history
Okay.
niche too. And that's, like I was saying, part of the influence on my channel
Mm-hmm.
was that he doesn't really do the cheesy, like, oh, there's a ghost here, there's a
Right.
ghost there.
Right. Yeah.
It's like
People don't want
fact
that.
based
Yeah.
and historical,
Mhm.
which I've always loved.
Yeah. Yeah.
And my love for and always like desire to entertain people and do YouTube, I kind of saw the connection there. Oh, I could combine these two passions and hopefully see where it goes. And you know, it's been okay so far since October, and I'm excited to see where the now higher quality long form
Mhm.
is going to take me, and then the subsequent higher quality short form stuff is
Yeah.
going to take me as well. And it's funny too. The very first video I was talking to you about before, a cop. It was in Pennsylvania, right? So Pennsylvania state trooper came up to my friend and I, and we're like, "Oh shit!" And he's just like, "You guys gonna graffiti the place?" And we're like, "No, we're just here to take pictures." And he's like, "Oh, all right, fine."
He let you
See
in?
later." Yeah, he's like, "Fine, I don't care."
Dang,
He's like, "Just
okay.
don't graffiti the place." I'm like, "I got cameras, and we're
Yeah.
not dressed like, you know, people who would graffiti the place." So
Right.
I'm like,
Right.
we're good.
Yeah.
And
There's this place also in I think it's Hardyston or like Franklin, New Jersey, probably like 35 minutes from here, and it's like an abandoned like amusement park. It's like a castle style amusement park. It's near this like old mine, which also might be a cool place to
that
explore.
would be really cool.
They have tours there, but they actually let people in there, but
Okay.
you could probably talk to them too and see if you could like do a more like comprehensive exploration. I've been there 2 or 3 times and it's like the coolest, creepiest thing. There's people that have like died there.
Damn.
Yeah, and that's not far from here. That's probably, well, it's the same as like this castle. So
Yeah, that amusement park,
I've
that's
seen, I
interesting.
saw some video, I think, because I was looking it up. I was like, it'd be cool to break into that.
Yeah, right.
But not that I would do that.
No.
But no, it was like somebody had gone in there and it was just, she was super boring about it. She just like walked around, but it looks like it could be super cool if you went inside.
A good thing. And
Yeah.
like that's the funny thing too is like, this I don't necessarily want this to be like my main big YouTube channel. It's just kind of like what worked.
Yeah.
From
if it's
from
fun,
from
like,
the start, and it's fun.
Yeah.
Right. Like I don't know how big it could potentially get. Right. Like
Mhm.
I want to establish a personal brand. I want
Right.
to, you know, I want to have Andrew Grasso
Mhm.
as, you know, my main kind of YouTube channel. Subject matter, I don't know yet. That's why
Yeah.
I'm still kind of working on this
Right.
channel that is establishing and has an actual niche, right?
Mhm.
And I mean, it goes back, like the love of this for me goes back to when I was like 12 years old, right? I
Yeah.
started a prank YouTube channel.
No way.
I'd go out, yeah.
Oh my gosh,
it was
those
so
were like
funny.
those were
the
the most
golden
popular.
days.
Yeah, that
Those
was the
were the golden
beginning.
days for pranks. It wasn't like oh, I'm doing a social experiment and
Mhm.
like
Yeah,
assault
yeah.
somebody. No, it was just like
Yeah.
you make people laugh. Like what I would do is like I was like 12 years old. I would film myself with my iPod Touch. I would like get on store intercoms and be like,
my God.
The store's closing. Everyone
No
leaving out. Oh
way.
yeah, it was great.
Oh my gosh,
Oh
did you
yeah,
get
it was
like
great.
kicked out?
They would never find me. They'd
How
never
do you do
find me.
that? Wait, where do you just go up to like one of those phones in a
Yeah.
store? That's hilarious.
I'd be slick about it.
Oh my gosh.
I'd be slick about it. It was funny.
That's really
It
funny.
was funny.
You
And
should,
like people
remake
loved
one
it.
of those.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I've been thinking about maybe trying to like start in that niche again, but it's
Mhm.
kind of like
It's very saturated.
it's really saturated. But what I do, I don't think is saturated, right?
Mhm.
One, it's like the intercom niche,
Yeah.
like intercom pranks, but
Mhm.
it's like how much can I say? It's like I don't
Yeah.
want to go
I
in
feel like
there.
that would be really good on like short form though. Like maybe not
That's
long
the
form,
thing
but short
is that
form.
they used to be all long form before shorts existed. We did a couple of long form stuff, kind of like it was a more comprehensive, like vlog style
Mhm.
video. And I took all the old shorts, and uploaded them as shorts, right?
Okay.
Because they were long form at the time. I did it again. I scheduled them out from September to February. About 2 weeks ago, they ended, and they didn't really do too well.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
I thought the same thing. I thought they were
Yeah.
really going to do well short form wise, but I mean, they did pick up some traction,
Yeah, yeah. Just not as much as you thought.
and I just don't know if it's like a content thing or like a demand thing.
Yeah.
I don't really know. It's like something that's kind of like I feel like it's kind of childish for me to do.
Yeah. Well, yeah, if you're
nowadays.
trying to like build a certain personal brand, you have to kind of be like
Well,
very
that would be
clear on
total.
what you
No,
want.
that would be totally like separate.
Okay,
Like that
okay. So
channel
it would be
exists.
it would be
since-
its own thing.
That channel exists since I was 12 years old.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
What's
like-
it called?
No, you'll find it one day. Don't worry. You'll find it one day. Don't worry. But it's totally totally separate from the history channel I
Mhm.
have. You wouldn't even know it's me. Totally
Yeah.
faceless.
Oh really?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Wait, how are you doing like intercom pranks without your face in it? Like are you just like first hand filming?
Take my phone. I go like this. Like I was 12 years old. Like,
Yeah,
I would take
yeah.
my iPod. I'd go like this. Like put the code in.
That's
Just
so
like hey, whatever.
funny.
I mean, there's times where like I would put it on like a shelf and like film
Mhm.
myself. I was
Mhm.
12 years old. I looked
Yeah,
totally
yeah.
different. It's like,
No one's gonna draw
and
that
I
connection.
deleted most of those videos too because they were just stupid.
Mhm.
But yeah,
That's smart
I mean,
though to like divide it up on different channels and
Oh,
like be
yeah.
able to build those separate brands.
right?
'Cause-
Yeah, because if like they say, the niches are in the riches, or the
Mhm.
riches are in the niches.
Yeah. Yep.
So I kind of like had a 12-year-old me kind of had a feeling of that too. That like
Mhm.
it can't all just be like a whole conglomerate of everything you do, unless you're already a very established like personality,
Yeah.
right? So if your personality is that, oh, I can do everything, it's
Joe
hard to
Rogan.
get there. But
Joe
then
Rogan
you
can talk
do
about
that.
every
Exactly.
like random subject
Exactly.
and bring it all
But
together.
it took Joe Rogan however long
Yeah.
of talking about just whatever he talked about in his niche.
Yeah.
from
Yeah,
the
wasn't he like a
beginning.
sports commentator
Yeah, he
for
was
a
like
while?
sports.
and-
Yeah, he
yeah,
was an MMA guy.
yeah.
So, I mean, gradually he started expanding and expanding and expanding, and he was able to build his audience to be almost everybody talking about almost anything.
Mhm.
Starting like that is a pretty hard strategy.
Yeah, you
Right.
have to start like close up, and then you get
Yeah.
the big picture. I was talking to like one of my business mentors, and I'm building a community right now, and he was talking about how like it's too broad what I was trying to do at the time, and he was like, you should target specifically women, and I was like, oh, I hate that. Like I don't because I don't consider myself like a female entrepreneur. I'm just like I'm an entrepreneur. I
right.
don't have there's no like
There's no
there's literally
females
no
in this.
disadvantage in being a woman. Like it's
Right.
probably easier if anything these
Right.
days. Like, and I think people take labels and they use them as like crutches. And so I was telling him that, and he's like, yeah, no, like it literally you probably have it
Yeah.
easier. But at the same time, like if you're gonna try and start with this broad audience just because you don't want to cut anyone out,
Right.
you're
right.
not gonna reach anyone because you're competing with everyone.
That's right. What's the saying? Right. If you try to speak to everyone, you speak to no one.
Yeah, yeah,
That's so true, especially these days now.
yeah. Because
Um,
there's so many people doing that, and they have such bigger platforms
Right.
because they started small.
Right.
And they built that credit. It's so much easier to like build credibility on something you actually know really well and something
Right.
that like people are going to resonate with you, and then like that social credibility allows you to expand your niche.
Right. And something that I think it's important to note, something that genuinely makes you feel fulfilled
Mm-hmm.
or happy about. Right.
Yeah.
Like for example, like I don't know, just going to like Walmart and just saying stupid stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like yeah, it's funny. And I mean, I guess if I could make money doing it, right? Like
Yeah.
I would have tolerated it more, but it's just like it's kind of boring to me.
Yeah.
For me, I love flying to different places around the country. I kind of love the unknown
Yeah.
of like what I'm gonna find. I love documenting
Have you always loved
history.
history?
Loved it.
Yeah.
I've
That's
always
so
loved
cool. What's your
history.
favorite time period?
American Revolution.
Really? Okay. So like more recent history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I absolutely love the American Revolution.
Would you ever travel like overseas for like
Oh yeah.
historic places?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I want to
Cool.
go to Chernobyl.
Where's that?
Wait, it's I think Germany.
Okay.
It's
That'd
like
be
it's
cool.
like an abandoned. No, it's in Ukraine. Sorry,
Okay.
sorry.
Okay.
It's
Probably don't go right now then.
No. Yeah. Funny thing is too is I want to go to Russia at some point.
Okay.
I don't know about
Maybe
now.
not.
I don't know about now, but
Yeah.
I've always wanted to go to Russia. My mom's always wanted to go to Russia.
Mhm.
I know Russian citizens
Mhm.
that are family friends of ours.
Oh, that's cool.
So
You have a place to stay.
yeah, but they probably won't be able to come back if they go there. now.
Right.
So,
Right.
so
Yeah.
I mean that's not going to happen for a while. But I mean I'm Italian. I want to go to Italy.
Mhm.
There's in the UK. There's a lot of abandoned places. Germany, a lot of abandoned places. Yeah, I mean I totally want to travel the world.
Yeah. No,
Totally.
there's so much history
Totally.
because like you think about America, like we've only been around for a couple hundred years.
Right.
So like American history is like tiny and there's so much of it.
1600-ish
Yeah.
to well, I guess not really like 1492, but 1600-ish is when we really started colonizing
Mhm.
to now. And when you think about it, what happened in those 400 or so years, like now that we're just sitting here, you know, in a developed metropolitan area, it's pretty unbelievable
Yeah,
what happened.
like how fast it
it's
happened.
it's really amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. I think like a place like London or like Rome would be like so
Rome would be
epic.
so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go to like the Colosseum.
Because you go, yeah, Colosseum, you have Roman history. There's so much Roman Empire influence.
Yeah. Oh
still.
yeah. Everywhere.
Yeah.
Even in like Britain and stuff. Like there's just like the Roman Empire literally was like on the brink of taking over the world before
Everywhere.
they
Same with the
collapsed.
British Empire too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You go to, like they said, the sun never set on the British Empire.
Mhm.
And it's funny meeting some people from certain places that have a British accent,
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh, that's right, the British colonized that. That's
Mm.
right. India, for example,
Interesting.
right?
Really?
Yeah.
Wait, you met like Indians with British accents?
Not like Indian, but people from India, like white people.
Okay, yeah, with like British.
But like not like
descent.
Indians. Yeah,
Yeah,
British
yeah.
descent. Yeah,
Okay.
or like mixed people
That's
who
wild,
don't
though.
kind of sound like they're from India.
Right.
Same with South Africa,
Mhm.
British colony.
Mhm.
I actually know a dude now personally through church who I just, just met him. He just became a citizen actually the other week. I'm like, what are you from Britain? He's like, no, South Africa, man. I'm like, oh, that makes sense. That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's like you forget about it sometimes.
You would
but
think
no, it's
after like a
crazy.
generation, the accent would start to just they would adapt to whoever's around them.
Yeah, but I mean, that doesn't really happen to all the sub accents here in America, too.
True. True. Yeah.
I
No,
mean,
it's awesome. Yeah.
accents are starting to fade,
Yeah.
but you know, they're still prevalent in a lot of areas.
How long do you think it'll take for there to be like no accents in the world? Do you think that'll ever happen?
I think we're moving towards it, but it's not going to be for centuries. I don't
Yeah.
think. Honestly, I don't even know if that would ever happen.
Yeah.
Actually, no, I don't really think so. I
Well,
think
because like accents
we
even
are becoming,
developed in
yeah,
America.
we're becoming more homogenized.
Yeah.
So I think maybe there'll be less, like extreme accents will be less
Mhm.
prevalent. But I think you're always going to, like, if you have like a German speaking American
Mhm.
or like someone who's Finnish speaking,
Mhm.
speaking American, speaking English,
Yeah. Well, American English is its own
is
language
its own
too.
thing. That's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
That's true. American English. It's just, it sounds so different. So I don't
Yeah.
know that those can really blend that quickly. But
Yeah.
for example, if you look at an American city like Charlotte, North Carolina, right? You meet the average person from Charlotte now, they're not going to have a Southern accent.
Mhm.
15, 20 years ago, a lot more of them did.
Yeah. I was just in Florida. Like no one has accents in Florida.
Right. Florida used to be like,
That was the South.
that was the South.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And if you still go to the Panhandle,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Northern
Yeah.
Florida, Northwestern Florida, yeah, you're gonna find it's basically Alabama.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's basically Alabama.
It's
But,
so interesting though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and yeah, I'm just fascinated with like, I mean that part of the history and travel too
Mhm.
is what I kind of want to incorporate into my channel
is such
some way
cool.
too. Like I don't necessarily know if it'll kind of ruin the niche or kind of like help
I feel like
niche
that would
me
help.
down even more.
Yeah.
Because I really don't see anybody else doing like history in terms of like abandoned locations and then like the
Mhm.
culture around them.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I'm really fascinated by like different cultures and different subcultures within countries too,
Yeah.
and how different things could be, right?
Yeah.
Like in rural China versus in Beijing, in
Mhm.
rural America versus New York
Oh my
City,
gosh. Yeah.
right? It's just incredible,
Yeah.
right? That the Alaskan archipelago, right? People live on those islands, and that's the same country as Manhattan.
Yeah. It's
It's
absolutely
crazy to me.
crazy.
Like it's crazy to me.
Yeah,
So
you gotta explore that mind because I feel like
yeah,
I don't even remember. It was so many years ago. I don't remember the story behind it. There's so much history in like the mining
yeah,
communities that people don't even know existed on
right,
like the East Coast.
right.
It's
And if it
wild.
wasn't for those mines, right? And I know in Pennsylvania there's a lot of mining history
Hmm.
too. I actually my grandparents' parents were coal miners out there.
Okay.
My grandfather, he moved here. He said, "Screw that! I'm not doing that. I'm
Hmm.
going to college." Thank God,
Yeah.
because otherwise, who knows
You'd
what I'd
be a
be doing?
coal miner.
Who knows what I'd be doing? I mean,
Yeah.
God bless those guys, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is hard work.
Yeah. No, it's
I mean,
crazy.
good for them.
I think a lot of it they've created machines to make it like
Yeah.
less brutal
So it's
for
all,
sure.
and
But
a lot of it's obsolete now too. But I
Mhm.
mean, back in the day, that's what powered America,
Mhm.
right? Like Bethlehem Steel over in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Like that steel went to go build the Golden Gate Bridge.
Yeah.
It went all
Yeah.
over the country. You know, it was an industrial, like they call it the Rust Belt now, but I mean, because it's a lot of it's abandoned and rusting away. 'Cause
Yeah.
we don't need, you know,
Yeah.
their products anymore.
It's crazy.
Sorry, we do need the products. We're not using them
Yeah. Yeah.
as we should be.
But it's not even like the
And it
same economy anymore.
Cost a
Like,
lot of
used
people
to-
their livelihood. Yeah, our
Yeah.
economy's centered around
like
that
information.
industry.
Information products, I think, are like what steel used to be.
Right.
You know, like
exactly.
yeah, you
Information
completely
products.
shifted what like where the wealth is
Right,
flowing to.
right.
It's not people that are producing like physical, tangible goods because so much of that is now just outsourced overseas.
Outsourced
Now it's,
overseas
like,
because it's
information
cheaper, which I
products.
mean I get, you know,
Mhm.
as
Yeah.
an entrepreneur, I totally understand that.
Yeah.
But for the American economy as a whole, you know, we have to kind of ask ourselves whether or not do we want lesser quality and cheaper, or do we want kind of a better economy,
Yeah.
right? And
There's so
usually
many
a better
resources
product,
here too.
right? Like Bethlehem Steel, you know, if something like that were to come back, production, manufacturing, if auto production were to come back to the United States,
Mhm.
you know, I think it would help a lot. Like, yeah, it would make things more expensive in a way, but I think that's offset by people having better jobs and more money.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
Um,
Yeah, and it's
So it was
like
kinda
there's
sad.
so many untapped resources in America. Like
there
I
are.
think out of all the countries in the world, like we have one of the most diverse set of like landscapes and resources, and like so much of
Totally.
it is just not.
We have
being
so
used.
much oil
Mhm.
that we're just not. I don't want to get political.
Yeah.
But
No.
We
I
have
know
so
what you're
much
saying.
oil
Yeah.
that it's like, what do we do? Like
Yeah.
drill.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's kind of besides the point.
Yeah.
Like, you're 100% right. We are moving towards an information economy nowadays, and I think that's the way forward, especially for younger people too, right? Who don't want to work that 9 to 5,
Mhm.
who want location independence.
Yeah.
I want nothing but location independence, right?
Mhm.
I don't want to be tied down to a specific spot.
Yeah.
To me, that's depressing as heck, right?
Yeah.
Like going into the same office every day, seeing the same people, right? For years and years on end.
So, I don't know how people do that. Honestly,
I
I can't understand it.
need to do something where I can wake up in the morning, wherever I am in the country or the
Mhm.
world, run my business, do my remote job on the side,
Mhm.
whatever it is,
Mhm.
film a YouTube video, right?
Yeah. That's freedom.
That to me is freedom.
Yeah.
Not, you know, after 1 year of like, you know, sucking up to the man, oh, you get a
2 week.
week paid vacation
Yeah.
after a year, and then after another year, if you're a good boy, you get another one,
Yeah.
right? I just
Oh
some
my
people
gosh.
like if
Some people that's for them.
no,
Like,
and listen, I think there's toxicity on both sides of the spectrum too, like the super like hustle grind bros, entrepreneur bros, right? I'm
1000%.
up at 3 a.m. working out.
Mhm.
And then there's also toxicity on the corporate America side too,
100%.
right? There's people on the entrepreneurial side that I think is kind of toxic, where they say that, oh, some people that's for them a 9 to 5, but it's almost like they're talking down
Yeah.
to those people.
Yeah. It's like,
Um,
oh, we need those
we're
people so that
better
we can
than
live our
we're
lives.
we're better than you. It's like
Mhm.
no, just people are different.
Yeah.
People
Yeah.
are different.
Like doctors, lawyers, like
Jobs.
society literally wouldn't function without.
Cashiers.
Yeah,
We,
yeah.
You know, cooks, chefs,
Mhm.
police officers, right?
Yeah.
We need those occupations.
Yeah.
We need those people to be consistent and show up every day.
Yeah.
You know, technicians, engineers, you know, even if it's not like a high-end professional like a doctor or a lawyer, you know,
Yeah.
all of it is a part of a functioning economy.
I think if anything, I would like to see more people like freelancing some of those trades and skills
Yeah.
so that they can experience the freedom and like the autonomy
That's
of
a
their
good,
schedule.
so right, I'm a plumber.
Mhm.
Why do I have to be licensed? If I'm a plumber, right? I
Right.
prove my skill, right? Like you said, freelance the skills. Okay, let's go live in like Boise, Idaho, and do plumbing out there
Yeah.
for a while.
Yeah.
Then let's go to San Francisco and do it. So I think that's a good idea.
But you've
I-
got to
I
be
don't-
honest about it. Like if you really go into like business full time, you're not like taking back time. You're probably going to double your work
It
hours.
sucks.
It's insane.
I'm not gonna lie, it sucks.
Yeah,
But for freedom,
it's worth it.
it's worth it.
For some people, the
and
trade
for
off they
me,
can't do it.
For
Yeah.
me, and
Yeah.
I honestly, I kind of wish sometimes that I was content, right,
Yeah,
with that.
yeah.
It's like clock out. Oh, great! Now I can go like,
Yeah,
you know, drink
just chill, go on
margaritas
vacation.
at Top Golf or something.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
No, it's like I'm always worried about like what's my next move? What do I have to do here? What do I have to do there? So I'm kind of envious of those people sometimes.
yeah,
But at the end of the day, I can't look in the mirror at myself and be like, someone else writes your check.
yeah. I think it's this concept, at least for me, of like you don't want to die with like potential and like wondering
Left
what
over.
if.
I'm terrified of that.
Yeah,
I'm
that is
terrified
literally my
of that.
motivating drive. Because like
Terrified.
I was saying the same thing to my mom because like nobody in my family is entrepreneurial, and so it's kind of been like this path that I've sort of figured out on my own with like other entrepreneurs, not by myself, but not with my family support. And I was telling her like I don't think I'll ever retire. I don't think I could. I think I would
Right.
literally lose my mind if I wasn't working on
To
something.
me, retiring is just having freedom.
Yeah,
Like you're
yeah.
still gonna work,
You're working for yourself,
but you're just
working
not
for someone else.
tied down to a location. Oh, I gotta go in the office 5 days a week.
Mhm. Yeah,
Like I go in an office now, but it's because I have to, and I'm working
yeah,
away from it.
hmm
It doesn't, and honestly, it really doesn't even have to be an office job.
yeah, yeah.
I kind of like the guy. I kind of like being
Yeah.
together, especially in the startup phase. Right,
Mhm.
it's important to be.
You learn so much.
You
too.
learn so much, and it's important to be face to face.
That's
Um,
yeah. If you have to work a job, I think like I worked. So my first job, I was an executive assistant for a startup,
Mhm.
and I assisted the vice president. And then my second job, I worked as an account manager for a fashion company. I managed all their California accounts. That wasn't a startup. That was like a bigger company. But then my third job, I was working for a nonprofit, Turning Point USA. And so they were
Really?
all yeah. I was their field rep for New York City.
Wow.
So I was in 3 totally different kinds of jobs, but like each of them for between like 6 to 9 months.
Okay.
And so like I was learning a skill set in each of them. And then as soon as I had that skill set down, then I moved on to the next one. And I think that's probably the best way. Like if you're in your 20s, like look at it just like a way to learn a skill set and then
Yeah.
like move on to the next
Exactly.
job.
Right. It doesn't even necessarily matter like what the business does. If it's like an account manager,
Mm-hmm.
like if you want to be an account manager, it doesn't really matter what the company is. It's like, right, you're managing money, you're
It's the
managing
same,
account.
yeah.
It's the same kind of deal, right? If you have experience doing that, great. But the problem with that can be, right, you're working at a brick and mortar place, you have to go into the office, right?
Mhm.
Account management is a great one for remote work.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's no reason, a lot of times, there's no reason why you need to have an
I was the
office.
one person in the office too that wasn't allowed to work remote. I think because I was like young, they didn't trust
Probably.
me or whatever. But
Probably, yeah. She's gonna
so
log
annoying.
in 2 hours a day. And, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
steal the
Which
time.
is
or
what
whatever.
everyone else did anyway. But
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but
and you can also do that like in an office, so it's funny.
It's funny because right, what happens on a Friday after 11 a.m.?
Nothing. Happens.
Absolutely nothing. Right? What happens on a Monday before 11 a.m.?
Yeah. Absolutely nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think a lot of these CEOs and bosses and managers are just kind of like being disingenuous.
Yeah, and I think they also don't they don't optimize for like efficiency with their employees. Like they
Right.
just hire someone for this position because there's always been someone in that position when it's like
Right.
actually you could just totally
Does
eliminate
it
that position
really?
because
Do we
there's
really need it?
yeah, there was no need because I remember like while I was working there, at least like 3 people in my department left. And
Wow.
like when people would leave, like there would be this period where like they just wouldn't hire someone, like they were looking for
Right.
a new replacement, and I would just take over their responsibilities. I was like like, I'm not working that much harder to just
Right.
manage their emails and whatever.
Right.
But then they'd hire someone else just because they had that position open, and it's like you could save like, you know, 60 grand a year or whatever.
But
not
the other
hiring
side of
them.
that too is that like you need to get some sort of extra compensation
Absolutely.
for that, right?
Otherwise, you're gonna just lose
because
motivation.
the money's obviously there,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
If they're paying that,
And if they want to keep their employees, like
and
they
happy
should,
and productive,
yeah,
right? That's one way to
absolutely.
do it. Instead of just guilting them into saying, "Oh, you should just work hard. You should do this for the team," right?
Yeah.
As the CEO kind of sits there and
Yeah,
does
no.
whatever. So when I'm boss, I totally anticipate on reciprocating and treating employees fairly.
Yeah. And you save money in the long term because like
Absolutely.
the first 6 months of hiring an employee is so expensive. Like onboarding people, you're teaching them everything. So if they then leave after 6 months,
It's like
they've just learned how to do the job. Now you have to start from scratch.
all
You're
over again.
probably either doing it all yourself or paying someone else to do it while they learn how to do it.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, like turnover is the most expensive thing if you
Yeah.
can't get that right.
It sucks. So
Yeah.
I mean that's why I guess company culture is important, but more importantly, employee satisfaction.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people too, right? Like who are being kind of like incentivized to come back into the office. Oh, we have ping pong tables now. Oh, we have vending machines.
Yeah.
We have Dippin' Dot vending machines.
Yep, we have an espresso machine.
We have like napping lounges. It's
Mhm.
like, can't you just pay me more money instead
Yeah,
of like
yeah.
getting all these things? Like for me personally, that's what I would want. It's like I nap at home.
Yeah.
Like I can go buy Dippin' Dot. I can go buy
Yeah.
ice cream if I want.
I would
like,
rather eat that in my home than
it's
in
like-
the employee lounge.
Yeah, or like, oh, we have this great extravagant new cafeteria. It's like the $50,000, whatever it
Mhm.
took you to like renovate all that. It's like, can't we just get
Yeah.
paid like a couple grand more a year?
Although,
Like,
do you
split that
think there's
between
like
everybody?
a power behind having like all the employees in one place for like that like team unity, or do you think it
Yes.
doesn't? Okay.
Yes, I think so. However, my psychology background coming in here too, I've read studies that actually do show that employee performance and satisfaction does actually increase with remote work.
Interesting.
So that's not something,
That's wild.
it would be disingenuous for me to ignore that.
Yeah.
But I also know what it feels like to be part of a team. I've been
Mhm.
part of teams all my life, college athlete.
Yeah.
Right. So I know what that's like to kind of have a camaraderie. So I think the middle ground there is when you're starting a project, when you're in the beginning of something,
Mhm.
it's important to form that camaraderie with people. It's
Yeah.
important to be in
Have that
person,
foundation.
build that foundation, and then go remote
Yeah.
if you need to,
Yeah.
and if people want to. If
Yeah.
not, then that's fine. I mean,
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with working in person too.
Yeah.
But I know a lot of people nowadays are like, I don't need all these perks and this and that. It's like just
Yeah.
pay me more, let me work from home.
Have you read The 4 Hour Workweek?
Yes, I have.
Of course. Okay. Yeah. That's one book everyone should read as they get started like
Absolutely.
working. It's so good. I've read it twice now.
Yeah.
And it's like 2007 it was written.
Yep.
And yet like the resources still are so valuable.
Well, if you want to talk about an old book being relevant, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
That, yeah, also read that twice.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
That was written in the 20s, right?
Yeah,
20s or
who wrote
30s?
that?
Dale Carnegie.
Dale Carnegie. Okay, yeah. Also Napoleon Hill.
Yep.
There's so many golden books from that era.
Yep,
It's like
absolutely.
they should be part of high school curriculum.
Right. 48 Laws of Power.
I've never read that.
That's
That
a
sounds
great
familiar
one.
though.
That's a great one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who's that by?
I can't think of the author off the
48
top of
Laws.
my head.
I'll look it
48
up.
Laws of Power. That's a
Yeah.
great one.
Okay.
That book's actually banned in prisons.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know why.
Is it like all about influence or like leadership?
Yeah, it's like influence and leadership, and it's like,
Wow.
how to become a powerful individual. So I guess,
Interesting.
the guards
It's
are like, nah,
inspiring
screw that.
gangs.
Yeah. I guess
That's
the guards.
funny.
No, I mean, I thought it was a great book. It's like, take what you want with any
Mhm.
book, right?
Yeah.
Take what you want, leave what you don't need. And you mentioned you read books twice. Read,
Rereading.
reread.
Yeah.
So important because
Oh, yeah.
something that's relevant to you now may not be relevant to you later, vice versa. You might have missed something
Mhm.
that would have been relevant to you. So, I mean, that stuff's so important.
Yeah.
Audiobooks too, especially.
Absolutely.
You
Yeah.
know,
While you
I
drive.
actually had while you drive, and I had a job last year. I actually had a 9 to 5. I took a temporary position somewhere, sitting at a desk, just working with my hands, audiobooks all day.
Yeah.
I think I read like 50 or 60
Dang.
books in that time period
That's
that I was working
phenomenal.
there, like six
Yeah.
months. It's like I'm getting it done while I'm working. I'm killing two
Yeah.
birds with one stone while I'm listening.
Yeah.
I was gonna, I listen to music constantly. I love music,
Mhm.
but if I could kind of cut back on the music, I'd be listening to something anyways. I
Mhm.
might as well be comprehending, right? Like 12 Rules for Life, 48
Mhm.
Laws of Power, The Art of War,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Mm-hmm.
So there's so many great resources out there that, like you said, high school curriculum, ridiculous.
Yeah.
That some of those books and material and just ideas even
Yeah.
are not a part of just a basic like life skills course. Like sitting here now and looking back at especially high school, but also college, it's really programming you to be a good employee.
Yeah.
That's all it is. I think it's obsolete nowadays.
Yeah.
And I think it really confuses people, especially younger, like nowadays. And I think it's only going to get worse.
Mm-hmm.
When you graduate high school or college, and it's like, wait, I really don't have to, like, I'm not going to get detention when the bell rings.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not going to, I don't have to ask permission to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't, I can eat whenever I want.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like, for me, it was confusing in a
Yeah.
way. It's like, wait, I don't have to, like, do whatever, right? I don't have to be here, there, everywhere. Like, yeah, obviously you have meetings, you have obligations, but it's just like with school, it just seemed so regimented like the military.
Mm-hmm.
No job I've ever had has been like that. I kind of knew like the real world is like, you don't have to ask permission to do this or that. You didn't really have to do that in college as much, right? Great example.
Mm-hmm.
You're in middle school. Oh, you write like this. Oh, they're not gonna like tolerate you not capitalizing your letters in high school. Or it's like senior year of high school. You go in. It's like, oh, my name is Mr. Ed or whatever, and I have like a bachelor's degree, which nothing wrong with that. I have a bachelor's degree, but it's
Mm-hmm.
like you're gonna call me Mr. with all this respect, and it's like,
Yeah.
they're not gonna tolerate you being late in college to school. And it's like you show up to college, and it's like the professor's like, yeah, my name's Bill. I have a PhD, and it's like, yeah, if you're too hungover, like just email me and I'll send you like the lecture notes.
Yeah.
Like that is
such a
that is
difference.
more real world, but still like college can kind of like still conform you a little bit. It
Yeah.
teaches it's better than high school in a way that it makes you teach some schools nowadays. I
Yeah.
won't get into it.
Yeah.
A lot of colleges are not great, but if you pick the right one, it can help you expand your mind and think.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
when you get out into that real world, when you realize it's like, wait, like I really don't have to ask permission to like go to the bathroom. I don't have to permission to get what I want to eat.
Mhm.
Understanding that you have that freedom and that you don't have to ask permission is so liberating.
Yeah.
Like for example, you said you have an associate's degree. I freaking love that. You don't need to ask anyone permission to start a business and make as much money as
Yeah.
you want.
Yeah.
The sky's the limit.
Being homeschooled up until high school, I didn't have any of those. So
Yeah.
I like high school was my first experience
Freshman
going to
year
school.
was your first like public school experience.
I actually never went to public school. I went to two
Oh,
different
private
private schools. Yeah. So the first private school was actually like this co-op type school. So it
Okay.
was like a lot of ex-homeschoolers
Okay.
that went there.
Okay.
So the rules were very relaxed.
Really?
And it wasn't
Okay.
until junior year I went to like a Catholic school and it was very strict.
Very
and there was
strict.
a lot of
Yeah,
rules.
as soon as you say Catholic school,
Insane.
it's like, but it's funny
Yeah.
because the stuff that goes on in Catholic schools,
Oh, it's the same as public school. It's just smaller.
sometimes worse from what I
Yeah,
hear.
because they sweep it under the rug. They don't want to ruin the reputation.
Oh yeah.
There was a rumor in my school that like if you didn't go to college, they would kick you out right before graduation because they had 100% like graduation to college
Yeah.
percentage, and so everyone had to declare their college like months before they graduated or whatever, and everyone was like scared of like getting kicked out. But
Yeah.
most people were already going to go anyway because
I,
there was like
I
rich
didn't I
families.
didn't know where I was going until like June or
Yeah.
July. I had offers to play baseball.
Mm-hmm.
It's just too expensive. I went to community college too.
Yep.
It was the best decision I've ever made thus far.
Likewise.
Because those 3 years actually spent there because of COVID,
Mhm.
I succeeded enough academically and athletically. It opened up an opportunity for me to go to school without paying anything.
Wow.
That
yeah.
wouldn't have happened out of high school.
Yeah.
Would not have happened out of high school.
Yeah.
So I'm so glad I made my decision. But I don't know. It's just kind of funny. Like even from like first grade into high school, you're going to college is what you're told.
Mhm.
Plumbers don't need to go to college. Cops don't need to go to college. Firemen don't need to go to college. Some people might say cops should go to college, but it depends. But there's so many, you can make money. You can start a business. There's no barriers to entry
Yeah.
to be an entrepreneur, right? There's barriers to entry of being like a lawyer, a doctor, or of some industries if you want to be an entrepreneur. But there's no barrier. You don't have to ask anybody for permission to be an entrepreneur
No.
and make money.
Yeah. It was
Absolutely
funny. Like
nothing.
my business professor, I respected him so much. In like 2 years, I had him in like 3 or 4 different classes. He was like one of the only business professors because it was a tiny school.
Yeah.
But I remember one day like asking him, and I had so much respect for this guy because he was such a
Yeah.
fun teacher. And I asked him like what his business experience was, and his only business, I don't even know if it was successful, was he sold Legos on Amazon. And but he had all these PhDs. He had been to like, all these different colleges. And so he was a professor. And like, I was like, dang, like, I don't even feel like I can learn from you because like you haven't done what I want to do.
Unless you want to show me what drop shipping is or Amazon
He wasn't
FBA.
I think he was like literally like building the Lego set.
Oh, really?
Oh, I was like, oh.
Hey, good for him.
Yeah, I mean, if you're
worked
happy,
out,
that's great.
It
but
worked
like,
out, so I had a different experience. My
Yeah.
business professor at my community college had a very comprehensive experience in the business world.
That's awesome.
Both with his own businesses and working for companies, being an executive high up. I learned so much from that dude. I learned more in that class than I ever did in my
like the advanced
in my
classes.
4-year upper level classes.
Mm-hmm.
More in that class that I still apply today to what I want to do with my businesses going forward.
Yeah.
So theoretically, if I had stopped like at the associate's level, which if it wasn't for baseball, I would have.
Mm-hmm. You'd be just as well off.
I would be just as well off.
Yeah.
And honestly, I would probably be more ahead now
Mm-hmm.
with my YouTube channel, with my other ideas that I want to, that I'm starting to get going now that I graduated in last August.
Mm-hmm.
I would be 2 years ahead.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, I'm 24 now. It's like 30 is not too far away. Like, it seems like not too long ago I was 19.
Yeah.
Like, in college,
So
playing
crazy
college
to think
baseball.
about. Yeah.
Like, if the next 6 years go as quick as the last 6 years, like when I was 18, 17, like 18, it's like, oh my God. It's
Yeah.
like 30's that gonna come that quick. It's
Yeah.
like I gotta start,
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So it's
like
almost like
wild
I
to think
kind of-
about.
in a way, I kind of regret doing all that schooling
Yeah.
because it's like I don't need it. I
I
realize
think
now.
sometimes it can overcomplicate such a simple thing.
Right.
So I think business, like fundamentally, is pretty simple. Like
Right.
it's not easy, but it's very simple.
Simple, not easy.
And
I like that.
They create like this whole complex thing, and it's like there really does not need to be a 500-page textbook written about like marketing. Like it's not that complicated. I think they like make you get in your head about it sometimes.
Right. Exactly. Right. I've never been a textbook kind of guy. Right. I can read, comprehend, but I don't really understand until I see it in practice and do it myself.
Mm-hmm.
You could tell me what to do, how to do it all the time. I'm not going to learn or remember until I actually do it myself. That's
Yeah.
just me.
Yeah.
That's my learning style. Kind of, in a way, it was a disadvantage, like especially earlier in school,
Mhm.
right? Because it's like, oh, why don't you understand this? Oh, you're falling behind. You're slow. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
like, not really. It's like
Yeah.
they
You
ended up
just learn
they
differently.
ended up giving me an IQ test at one point, and they were like, oh, so it's like
You're like smarter than the teachers.
probably.
Yeah.
Well, I was.
Yeah.
I definitely was. It's just like, oh, you're just different. So
You're just wired. That's the thing.
wired
It's like,
different.
and they want
Wired
to just like
different.
diagnose everyone with something. It's like, oh, you're ADHD.
ADHD,
And they create these like
Anxiety
disorders,
or
like-
depression. It's like they come
Yeah.
up with these
you're
disorders.
just
And listen,
freaking
like
human.
I've been through like dark times. I've
Mhm.
had stuff go on,
Mm-hmm.
but to slap a disorder and a label on something where it probably isn't,
Mm-hmm.
it's like it seems like I think that the label psychologically psychs you out even more and makes it worse.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then right to have big pharma,
Mhm.
feed you drugs on top of it.
Yeah. That pisses me off the most is the ADHD drugs because, I mean, I've never trusted doctors, but I look at that as like, I don't know. I think it's honestly like an advantage in some ways because you look at the highest performing like entrepreneurs and
Right.
like the most successful people in the world, they're all like ADHD. Like
Right.
their brains just work faster.
ADHD and OCD.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
It's like, well, maybe that's actually an advantage, or maybe it's just a different way of comprehending information
Yeah.
that the average person doesn't understand. So then all of a sudden it's a disorder.
So it doesn't. That's right. It's a disorder because it's the average person doesn't
Mhm.
have it,
Mhm.
right? And in that system we were talking about, school, right, making you be a good boy, employee
Mm-hmm.
who can screw dashboards in for 4 years and get their pension. If you have ADHD, if you have OCD, if you're like creative, you're thinking about something else, which I always was.
Mm-hmm.
thinking about traveling, being somewhere else, not learning how to do some like overly complicated method of multiplication or something. It's just like I can multiply. Like, why do I need to do this way? Whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think there is a population that doesn't really fit in with like everyone else who fits in with the mold. But there's nothing wrong with them per se. They're wired differently.
Yeah.
And I don't think
they're harder to control.
I
too.
don't right, and the school system doesn't like that because their boss, your future boss, wouldn't like that, right? Oh, what's your future boss gonna think about that, right? Well, what if your boss says?
What if you are the future boss?
I was like, what if I am my boss? I like never thought like I always thought I never said that, but I always thought of it. I'm like, what if I am my boss? Like second grade me was thinking like, okay,
that's
well, what if I am my boss?
Yeah.
So that's the ultimate goal.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
it's
that's
just like
awesome.
I do things on my own terms. I need to. I just need to, or I'll go crazy, right? But with the ADHD and the OCD thing, like that can really be a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
I feel like with the psychology background too. I've studied that a lot. It can be a superpower, but it can also lead to burnout, right? So like if you're compulsively thinking about a thought, right? I'm not talking about the OCD that manifests with like, oh, I have to turn the light switch on and off 45 times. Like OCD can also be internal, right? Thinking compulsive thoughts like, oh, I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to do this. Like, oh no, that needs to be perfect. I can't go to bed until like, like it could be a superpower. But then
if you have too much time to think, I think that's
too
where
much
it
time to
becomes
think,
dangerous.
that's where it becomes dangerous. And then if you have ADHD on top of that, it's like, oh, my cat came in now. Oh, wait, I want to listen to this song now. It's like, then you get burned out of thinking about, what you were just compulsively thinking of.
Right.
So medicine, I don't think is the answer at all. But doing what you feel like you need to do and experimenting, with certain systems, which I think systems are huge, I think that is a better answer. And that's where I've started to see some more success. Because during like school, right, I'd have 6 a.m. lifts. I would have assignments due. I'd have no time to be creative, no time for anything. It was horrible.
Yeah.
Absolutely horrible. And I didn't really question much. I just kind of did it, and I got burnt out.
Yeah.
I feel a lot more free now that I can kind of go where my mind wants to go within boundaries. Because it's important to have boundaries too, because creative people can be really scatterbrained.
Yeah.
And I've always been very scatterbrained. But I'm getting better at it now that I'm kind of like out of the matrix, if you would.
I feel like burnout has less to do with how much energy you're putting into something and just where you're putting that energy.
Right.
Because I like my biggest revelation in the last probably 2-3 years of starting my first business was just that I have so much more energy and potential and work within more energy that I can direct towards my work if I'm working towards something I'm passionate about. And it's that's why I post my Oura ring all the time. It's how we started talking about the sleep thing, because I sleep on average between 5 to 6 hours a night.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Some nights I get 6.5, but I'm so energetic. And granted, I also drink a lot of energy drinks, which is probably bad. But no, it's I think I went from working probably 7-8 hours a day when I was working for Turning Point to now working 14 hours a day. And it's doing stuff that I love. And when I say work, it's not work. I'm not slaving away at anything, but I'm editing stuff. I'm building a community.
Thinking.
I'm in meetings. Yeah.
I consider thinking and pondering work. Honestly.
For a creative, yeah, it is. That's your main. That's where everything comes from.
And an entrepreneur too, right? Oh, this is a good idea for a product. What do I do about this person?
Problem solving.
A lot of problem solving is up here.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
It's not keystrokes on your computer necessarily, right? Like a lot of softwares like to count for remote workers, right? You think up here too. Yeah. Like when you're eating lunch, when you're doing problem solving is work too. So I mean, I totally understand that.
Yeah. And a lot of the OCD, because I don't know. I think I used to think I was OCD. I don't put any labels on myself now, but
I think that's smart.
Yeah. Because if they don't serve you, why even bother? But I used to have this thing where anytime I used to watch a lot of TV. Now I don't. I watch zero TV now. Yeah. But I used to watch TV for 2 hours every night, and I had to clean the room before I could enjoy the movie. Every single time there could be a speck on the floor, I would get out the broom, I would sweep up the whole floor again. I saw anything. And I've just realized that ever since I started my business and I've started working towards something I'm passionate about, like I don't have time to think about that.
Right.
I don't have time to like overthink anything.
Right.
So like those things that like I used to not sleep well. Now I sleep well because I'm freaking exhausted when I go to sleep.
Because you feel accomplished.
Yeah. And I feel like I earned it. So
Yeah.
I think that's powerful. Like if people are struggling with like a lot of those labels and like those issues, it's like maybe you just need to find your passion and like go all in on it, whatever it is, because your brain is meant to be solving problems. It's not meant to be scrolling on TikTok and looking for entertainment.
At least if you're wired that way.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I'd actually argue that our brains are kind of wired to consume like that. Because why is TikTok so addictive?
Yeah.
You know, it's because marketers and creators have figured out
They
how to grab your attention within
yeah.
a half of a second to keep you on that, you know, watching them, watching their short, right? They literally have a half a second now because you're just scrolling mindlessly. What it is it's a continuous dopamine hit, right? When you get that dopamine hit from your brain, you feel great. You feel like you want to get up, conquer the world. Oh, that's a great idea. Oh, I want to buy this on Amazon. You see all these colors and edits and everything. When you put the phone off, it's like, I need more. Like the dopamine goes away, right? You crash. It's literally an addiction.
Yeah.
It's the same thing like when you eat chocolate or like watch a good TV show, right? You get those same dopamine. You get those same dopamine hits. So those neurochemicals in your brain can really kind of like make you addicted to something, or they can really like you. So what I'm trying to say is, if you have dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, right? Dopamine in particular is one of our happy hormones, right? How we get addicted to things. We can channel that into ways that are productive, and we can channel that into ways that are not productive, such as scrolling mindlessly on TikTok, right? Some people are fine with that, but for me, like if I deleted Instagram from my phone because I was just spending way too much time sometimes on just scrolling on Reels. I would just go on and be like, oh, this story, that person's story. It's like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I really don't
I just
care.
Unfollow.
I don't care.
Yeah.
I just don't have. I just had to get rid of it because even if you unfollow people, you still get suggestions for Reels. And I'm like, this is such a waste of time.
Yeah.
And I would feel so, on top of like the dopamine being like taken away from my brain after stopping the scrolling, I would just feel like absolute crap because it's like, I just spent 30 minutes, an hour, whatever it was, scrolling, doing nothing.
Do you ever like go on your phone, like look for the app and then like
remember
it's not there?
I'll go like this, right? You go there, you swipe to where it used to be.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, that's gone now.
Yeah.
And it's like you still kind of get like that.
You get that impulse.
That dopamine want. Like, like you get the dopamine hit. Yeah, the craving, right? Where it's like, oh, I'm going on Instagram now, and then it's like you get the dopamine crash.
It's literally withdrawal. It's like a drug.
It is. It is a drug.
Yeah.
It absolutely is, and they know it.
It's like programmed to work like that. I know you're Christian, right?
Yeah.
So for Lent, I think this was last year, I gave up social media, but because of like my business and stuff, I still needed to be able to communicate with people.
Right.
So all I would allow myself to do is I always left my Instagram app open on open on a tab. And I kept it on the message, and I would not let myself swipe out of the DMs. It was the hardest thing. It was harder than deleting it because I could go on it, I could get notifications, but I couldn't do anything besides message people.
Yeah, that's a really good. That's a really good alternative. So I do all of my social media on my desktop now because I have a Mac, so it's hard too, right? Apple wants to send your messages to you and get your phone calls there. It's like no. I want my phone to be my phone. I want my laptop to be my laptop. Like my texts and phone notifications, they're all off on my computer. If I need to text someone from my computer, I go in the app separately, text them, close it, done.
Yeah.
I open up my browser, go to Instagram on my desktop, on my Mac.
So smart. I got to do that.
And I'm there for what I need to do.
Yep.
DMs, check a story, see how one of my reels did, done. Off. Same thing with Twitter, TikTok, Facebook. See if there's any messages I have to respond to, right? We were talking about engagement before, engaging with our audience. That's where I do it.
Yeah.
It's not like, I'm sitting here like, impulsively thinking like, or all the time like, oh, how many likes did it get? How'd this get? It's like, no, like when I go home, after dinner when I'm laying in bed about to go to bed, right? It's like, oh, this person commented.
Yeah.
reply.
Mhm.
I'll do that sort of thing. It's been a
Super
huge
smart.
time saver.
I've heard a lot of like social media influencers say that they do that too. Like a
Yeah.
lot of entrepreneurs are just like they don't have it. Either someone else runs it completely for them, or
Right.
same thing as you.
That
Like
would
they
be
just go
nice.
on.
That
Yeah,
would be
yeah.
really
Just
nice.
never have to see it. And then also your content, I feel like would just be. It would so strictly be you because there'd be no influence from like what's trendy or what
Right.
other people are doing. It would just be.
Be
And I
you,
think long
purely
term,
you, and
yeah,
I think that's really huge too.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like long term game plan, you're gonna have a very clear niche. You're not trying to like mix in all these trends and
Right.
optimize for this. It's just like.
Social media can be good for a creator for ideas,
Mm-hmm.
but too many ideas, it's like
overwhelming, yeah.
paralysis. You
Yeah.
get paralysis by what they say, paralysis by analysis. It's
Mhm.
overwhelming, and you
And
end
you
up
mix
doing,
yourself in with everyone.
and you end up doing nothing.
Yeah.
And I found that predicament myself, where I have a great idea here, and I'm about to start about to start it and get it going, and then I'll be distracted by another great idea that I
Mhm.
see, and I
Yeah.
end up
It's like
doing.
the curse of the
I
entrepreneur. It's
end up
like,
I end up doing neither.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's kind of like, the less choices, the better,
Mhm.
if they're quality choices. Make a decision about what choices you're going to choose, then choose one, and then go for it.
Yeah. No, yeah.
That,
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a big thing for me.
That's a good note, I think, to wrap up on. Like, if you're gonna create content, be strategic, create a system.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and spend less time consuming, more time creating.
Automate as much as you can.
Yeah. Awesome.
Take advantage of technology.
I love how that just went in like every different direction.
possible direction. That was great.